Let's dive into the segment with our top focus on the rebellion that took place in Russia. Wagner's chief Prigozhin has challenged Russia's President Putin in several ways. Not only has it dented Putin's strongman image, but also created much panic within the Kremlin. The mutiny has raised questions about the fate of the war in Ukraine as well. Now, even though Prigozhin's anger had been simmering for a while, the mutiny began on 24th of June when Wagner marched on Moscow. Prigozhin had accused Russian forces of attacking and killing mercenaries at a forest camp. Now, Russia's defense ministry denied this. After an intense few days, the Wagner chief left Russia owing to negotiations hemmed by Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko. A few days ago, Lukashenko confirmed that Prigozhin was in Belarus. Lukashenko has already patted himself on the back for playing peacemaker and for quelling Moscow's most serious security crisis in decades. The Wagner revolt has severely damaged Putin's image, though. For Prigozhin, the biggest boon is Putin dropping insurrection charges against him. Kiev is, of course, reveling in this chaos. But is it a winner-takes-it-all for the Belarusian strongman Alexander Lukashenko? After all, Belarus, often regarded as Moscow's junior partner, is now hosting one of the world's most skilled mercenary groups. But more importantly, is this a chance for Lukashenko to regain his influence the way it had been in the 90s with the Union State? Now, beyond this, according to a Russian lawmaker, the Wagner Group and its chief Prigozhin have been told that the mercenary group can no longer fight in Ukraine. This because Prigozhin reportedly declined to sign contracts which the Wagner chief believed would bring his mercenaries under the sway of Russia's defense ministry. That also meant that Wagner would not receive any state money. Now, according to Colonel General Andrei Kartapolov, it was this demand by Russia's defense ministry which triggered Saturday's mutiny. Let's try and get in a sense of perspective, and for that, let me introduce my guests. I'm joined in by Bishop Garrison and Edward P. Joseph. Many thanks to you, gentlemen, for joining in. Let me begin with Bishop, who is the Vice President for Policy at the Intelligence and National Security Alliance. Bishop, what future awaits Russia's Wagner army and its boss Prigozhin now that it's being reported that Prigozhin is in Belarus?
Well, one would hope, at least from a Wagner Group perspective, that this could be the beginning of the end. They've continually had activities across the globe, particularly on the African continent, and they have a horrible reputation in the way that they carry out these types of activities. Hired guns. They're a mercenary group that is looking to get the job done by any means necessary, and they do not carry themselves considerably or enter into their operations with regard to the laws of land warfare or respect traditionally for what we've considered within armed conflicts in terms of operations to protect individual human rights and individual civil rights. So one would think and one would begin to hope that this is the beginning of the end in terms of General Prigozhin. We simply do not know. Vladimir Putin has a reputation for not taking light to betrayals or to disloyalty. And this is exactly what we've seen in this situation. So one would have to believe that he's going to see some type of ramifications from these actions. But still, I think it's a little early to speculate on some of these parts.
All right. Let me also quickly go across to Edward P. Joseph of Johns Hopkins University. He's also a foreign policy analyst. Edward, this mutiny has severely dented Putin's pride and his image as a strong man. Has the rebellion challenged Putin's authority as an autocrat?
Vladimir Putin, who, as you say correctly, Akanksha, had to back down. He granted essentially amnesty to Prigozhin after labeling this treason, after labeling this a mutiny. He has now backed down. What does that signal? That signals to other Russians that Vladimir Putin is no longer this invincible, invulnerable character, that he may not be this glue that keeps this corrupt mafia state together at a time when they're struggling so badly on the battlefield and in the face of these united and very strong Western sanctions. And really, the question here is for someone like Prime Minister Modi of India, do you really want to stay on the fence, given this kind of abject weakness and disarray displayed by Russia? Is Russia at all some kind of an asset for a proud and very strong country like India? And these are questions I think that in Delhi, people should be asking, Prime Minister Modi should be asking, because I can tell you in Beijing, President Xi Jinping is definitely asking himself these questions after so lavishly throwing his support behind Putin not long ago with this 3-day visit to Moscow. So it's really Vladimir Putin who comes out of this looking extremely weak. Obviously, Prigozhin does as well, but he's a less significant character, of course, than the Russian president.
All right.
Please.
Many thanks to you, Edward and Bishop, for joining in with your precious inputs. And